In the quiet suburbs of Chicago, Michael Thompson, 55, and his wife Emily, 51, had built a life most would envy. Married for 25 years, they raised two children, Lila, 24, and Ethan, 22, now forging their own paths. Their cozy two-story home, with its sprawling backyard and photos of family vacations lining the walls, told the story of a love that had weathered life's storms. Michael, a steady financial advisor, prided himself on providing stability, while Emily, a part-time librarian, filled their home with warmth and laughter. They weren't perfect, but they were a team, or so Michael thought. It started subtly, like a crack in a foundation you don't notice until it's too wide to ignore. Emily had always been curious, her bookshelf brimming with novels and self-help guides. But about a year ago, she began spending more time with a new group of friends from a local book club. These women, vibrant and outspoken, introduced her to ideas about personal growth and empowerment. At first, Michael didn't mind. He liked seeing Emily energized, her eyes sparkling as she talked about rediscovering herself. It's just a phase, he told himself, brushing off her late-night discussions about finding purpose beyond motherhood and marriage. But the spark began to feel like a fire he couldn't control. Emily started attending workshops and meetups, coming home with phrases like living authentically and breaking free from expectations. Michael, a practical man, found it hard to relate. He'd nod politely, but inside he felt a growing unease. One evening, over dinner, Emily launched into a passionate rant about how women often lose themselves in family life. "Don't you ever feel trapped, Michael?" she asked, her fork hovering midair. He froze, unsure how to respond. Trapped? He loved their life, their kids, their home, their quiet evenings watching old movies. "I'm happy," he said simply, hoping to steer the conversation elsewhere. But Emily's eyes lingered on him, a mix of frustration and something he couldn't quite read. The tension grew when Emily started spending more time on her phone, scrolling through social media and texting her friends. She'd laugh at inside jokes Michael didn't understand, her fingers tapping out replies late into the night. He tried to join in, asking about her new interests, but her answers were vague, like she was guarding a secret. One night, he overheard her on a call, her voice sharp. "I'm tired of being just a wife and mom. I want more." The words hit Michael like a punch. He stood outside their bedroom door, heart pounding, wondering when the woman he loved had started to feel like a stranger. The first real fracture came when Emily announced she wanted to go on a solo trip to Miami. "I need space to figure out who I am," she said, packing a suitcase with a determination Michael hadn't seen in years. He didn't understand why couldn't she find herself here, with him? But he saw the fire in her eyes and didn't want to smother it. "Just be safe," he said, forcing a smile. Deep down, he worried about the influence of her new friends, women he barely knew but whose names, Clara, Vanessa, came up constantly. They seemed to fill Emily's head with ideas that pulled her further from him. While she was gone, Michael threw himself into work, trying to ignore the gnawing worry. He called Lila and Ethan, who reassured him it was just a break. "Mom's just exploring," Lila said, but her voice held a hint of doubt. Michael checked Emily's social media, something he rarely did. Her posts were vibrant pictures of Miami's beaches, captions about embracing freedom. But one post stopped him cold, a selfie with Clara and Vanessa, all laughing, with the caption, "Learning to live for me." Michael stared at the screen, a knot forming in his chest. Who was this woman, and where was the Emily he'd known for decades? When Emily returned a week later, she was different. Her hair, once shoulder-length and soft, was cropped into a sharp bob. She moved through the house with a restless energy, avoiding Michael's attempts at conversation. When he reached for her hand, she pulled away, offering a tight smile instead of the warmth he craved. That night, as they lay in bed, the silence between them felt heavier than ever. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Michael asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily turned away, her back to him. "I'm still figuring it out," she said, leaving him staring at the ceiling, alone with his thoughts. Over the next few weeks, Emily's distance grew. She spent evenings at meetups, coming home late with stories of new people she'd met. Michael tried to be supportive, but her words felt like a critique of their life together. One night, she showed him a TikTok video she'd made, a clip of her talking about reclaiming your life after 50. Her voice was confident, almost defiant, as she said, "You don't have to stay stuck just because you're married." Michael's heart sank. Was she talking about him? He wanted to ask, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he changed the subject, suggesting they plan a family dinner with the kids. Emily agreed, but her enthusiasm felt forced. The breaking point came one evening when Emily didn't come home until midnight. Michael, unable to sleep, waited in the living room, the TV flickering in the background. When she walked in, she seemed startled to see him. "Where were you?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. She hesitated, then said she'd been at a local event with her friends. It was about empowerment, she added, as if that explained everything. Michael's patience snapped. Empowerment? What about us? What about our family? His voice rose, years of frustration spilling out. Emily's face hardened. I need to do this for me, Michael. You wouldn't understand. She walked past him, leaving him alone in the dim light, wondering if their marriage could survive the storm. Emily's week in Miami changed everything. Michael had hoped the trip would be a brief escape, a chance for her to recharge and come back to him. Instead, she returned a stranger. When she stepped through the door, her sharp bob and distant gaze hit Michael like a warning. She barely acknowledged him, dropping her suitcase and heading straight to the bedroom. Good trip? He asked, his voice tight. Emily shrugged, mumbling about the beach before disappearing upstairs. The warmth they'd shared for 25 years was gone, replaced by a wall he couldn't breach. Over the next few days, Emily's behavior grew more unsettling. She spent hours on her phone, laughing at messages Michael wasn't privy to. At night, she'd stay up late, typing furiously, her face lit by the screen's glow. Michael caught glimpses of her TikTok videos, clips of her talking about living your truth and breaking free. One video, filmed on a Miami balcony, showed her with Clara and Vanessa, all raising glasses with the caption, "To new beginnings." Michael's stomach churned. What beginnings? Was their marriage ending? He tried to bridge the gap. One evening, he suggested a date night, hoping to rekindle their spark. Let's go to that Italian place you love, he said, forcing a smile. Emily barely looked up from her phone. I'm busy, Michael. Maybe next week. Her dismissal stung, but he didn't push. Instead, he called Lila, their daughter, seeking reassurance. She's just finding herself, Dad, Lila said, but her tone wavered. Give her time. Michael wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at him. Emily's new routine left little room for their family. She started attending more empowerment events, often staying out until midnight. Michael would wait up, the house eerily quiet, wondering where she was. One night, she came home buzzing with energy, her cheeks flushed. It was incredible, she said, describing a workshop where women shared stories of reclaiming their lives. I feel alive, Michael. Don't you want that for me? He stared at her, searching for the woman who used to curl up beside him on the couch. I want us to be happy together, he said quietly. Emily's smile faded. Maybe that's not enough for me anymore. The distance grew unbearable. Michael noticed Emily packing for more trips, weekend getaways with her friends. She'd return with stories of new people she'd met, her eyes bright with excitement he no longer sparked. He tried talking to Ethan, their son, who was blunt. Mom's acting weird, Dad? She's not herself. Michael nodded, but deep down, he feared this was the real Emily now, and he was losing her to a life he couldn't understand. One evening, Michael scrolled through Emily's TikTok again, unable to resist. Her latest video stopped him cold. She sat in a dimly lit room, her voice steady but intense. You don't have to stay in a life that feels like a cage. I'm 51, and I'm finally choosing me. The comments were filled with praise, strangers cheering her on. Michael felt like an outsider in his own marriage. Was he the cage? He wanted to confront her, but fear held him back. What if she confirmed his worst suspicions? The breaking point came when Emily announced another trip, this time to a retreat in Orlando. It's about personal growth, she said, avoiding his gaze. Michael's patience snapped. What about us, Emily? What about our kids? She froze, her jaw tight. I need this, Michael. I'm not asking for permission. Her words cut deep, and for the first time, he saw no trace of the woman he'd married. He didn't argue, just watched her pack, a hollow ache spreading in his chest. While she was gone, Michael threw himself into routine, work, gym, calls with the kids. But the house felt empty, the silence deafening. He kept checking Emily's social media, each post a dagger. One showed her laughing with a group at the retreat, captioned, surrounded by people who get me. Michael slammed his phone down, anger mixing with grief. Who was this woman, and why didn't she want him anymore? When Emily returned, the change was undeniable. She moved through their home like a guest, her eyes avoiding his. Michael tried one last time, sitting her down after dinner. Talk to me, Em. What's going on? Are we okay? She sighed, her fingers twisting a napkin. I don't know, Michael. I need space to figure it out. Her words hung heavy, and he knew then that their marriage was slipping away. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he could hold on to a woman who was already gone. Michael clung to hope, but Emily's detachment grew sharper. Their Chicago home, once filled with laughter, now echoed with silence. Emily's late nights became routine, her phone a constant companion as she crafted TikTok videos that felt like daggers to Michael. One clip, posted after her Orlando retreat, showed her smiling against a sunset, saying, "Life's too short to live for anyone but yourself." The comments, hundreds of them, cheered her on, calling her inspiring. Michael felt sick. Was their 25-year marriage just a footnote in her new story? He tried to reach her, suggesting family time with Lila and Ethan. "Let's have the kids over," he said one morning, pouring coffee. Emily barely glanced up from her laptop. "I'm swamped, Michael. Maybe next month." Her voice was flat, dismissive. He pressed, "What's swamping you? These events? Your videos?" She sighed, closing her laptop with a snap. "I'm building something for me. You wouldn't get it." Her words stung, but worse was the look in her eyes, pity, like he was holding her back. Michael confided in Lila, who was growing worried. "Mom's obsessed with her new life," she said over the phone. "Ethan says she barely texts him back." Michael nodded, though Lila couldn't see. He felt like a failure, unable to keep his family together. Still, he held back from confronting Emily, hoping she'd come around. But her absence grew louder, dinners alone, her side of the bed cold, her laughter reserved for strangers online. The tension snapped one rainy evening. Emily had been out all day at another self-discovery event. Michael waited up, the clock ticking past 11 p.m. When she walked in, soaked but energized, he couldn't hold back. "Where were you?" he asked, his voice tight. Emily rolled her eyes, tossing her bag on the counter. "At a workshop." "Why does it matter?" His frustration boiled over. "It matters because you're never here. You're choosing strangers over us." Emily's face hardened. "I'm choosing myself, Michael. Maybe you should try it." The argument escalated, words flying like shards of glass. "What about our kids? Our life?" Michael shouted. Emily's voice was cold. "I'm done living for everyone else. I need more." She stormed upstairs, leaving Michael in the kitchen, his heart pounding. He wanted to follow, to fix it, but her words echoed, "I'm done." The next morning, she was gone before he woke, leaving a note, "Need space. I'll call." Michael stared at it, a sinking dread settling in. Days turned into weeks. Emily stayed at a friend's place, texting only to arrange picking up clothes. Michael checked her TikTok, a habit he hated but couldn't break. Her latest video was bold, filmed in a coffee shop. "You don't need a husband or kids to feel whole. I'm proof." The comments praised her courage, but to Michael it was betrayal. He showed the video to Ethan, who shook his head. "She's lost, Dad. This isn't Mom." Lila was less kind. "She's embarrassing herself." The final blow came when Emily called to meet. Michael hoped it was a step toward reconciliation. They met at a diner, the same one where they'd had their first date decades ago. But Emily's face was resolute, no trace of the softness he once knew. "I'm filing for divorce," she said, sliding papers across the table. Michael's throat tightened. "Why, Em? We can work this out." She shook her head. "I need to be free, Michael. I'm not happy here." He searched her eyes for regret but found none. "What about the kids?" he asked. She shrugged. "They're adults. They'll be fine." Driving home, Michael felt the weight of 25 years crumbling. He called Lila and Ethan, his voice breaking as he told them. Lila cried, Ethan cursed under his breath. "She's throwing everything away," Ethan said. Michael didn't disagree, but he couldn't shake the guilt. Had he failed her somehow? That night, he sat alone in their living room, staring at a photo from their 20th anniversary. Emily's smile in the picture felt like a ghost. Emily moved into a small apartment downtown, her TikTok videos growing bolder. One showed her unpacking boxes, saying, "This is freedom, living for me." Michael stopped watching, each post a reminder of his loss. He threw himself into work, but the pain lingered. Lila suggested therapy, but Michael wasn't ready. Instead, he started running, the rhythm of his steps away to quiet his mind. Still, Emily's absence was a wound that wouldn't heal, and he wondered if he'd ever feel whole again. Michael's world felt shattered after Emily's departure, but glimmers of hope began to break through. 6 months after the divorce papers were signed, he met Sarah, a 42-year-old high school teacher with a warm smile and a grounded spirit. They crossed paths at a community fundraiser in Chicago where Sarah's easy laugh and kind eyes drew him in. Over coffee, they talked for hours about books, their kids, and life's unexpected turns. For the first time in months, Michael felt a spark of joy. "She's different," he told Lila over the phone. "She feels like home." Sarah became a steady presence, her patience soothing Michael's wounds. They went on hikes, cooked together, and shared quiet evenings that reminded him of what love could be. Lila and Ethan met Sarah and adored her instantly. "She's good for you, Dad," Ethan said, clapping him on the shoulder. Michael began to believe he could rebuild, but a part of him still ached for closure with Emily. He hadn't seen her since the diner, though her TikTok videos, now with thousands of followers, kept popping up on his feed. Each one stung, a reminder of her choice to walk away. Hoping to bring the family together, Michael planned a yacht trip along Lake Michigan for Lila, Ethan, and Sarah. On a whim, Sarah suggested inviting Emily. It might help everyone move forward, she said, her voice gentle but firm. Michael hesitated. Emily's presence could ruin the day, but he agreed, wanting to show he'd moved on. He called Emily, keeping it brief. "Join us for the kids' sake," he said. She paused, then agreed, her tone unreadable. Lila later convinced her, hinting this might be her last chance to stay connected. The day of the trip was crisp and sunny, the yacht gleaming under a clear sky. Lila and Ethan arrived first, hugging Sarah warmly. When Emily stepped aboard, alone, Michael's breath caught. She looked different, thinner, her sharp bob now grown out, her eyes guarded. He introduced Sarah, his arm around her. "This is Sarah. She's my partner now." Emily's face froze, her smile faltering. "Nice to meet you," she managed, but her voice was tight, her eyes darting between them. Lila shot Michael a look, sensing the tension. The trip started smoothly, the group chatting over wine and the lake's gentle waves. But Emily grew quieter, her gaze fixed on Sarah and Michael. At one point, Sarah tried to include her, asking about her new apartment. Emily's response was curt, "It's fine. Small, but mine." Michael felt a pang of guilt but pushed it aside. This was his life now, and Sarah was his future. As the sun set, Ethan suggested a group photo. Emily declined, retreating to the deck's edge, staring at the water. That night, Emily posted a TikTok video that sent shockwaves through the family. Filmed in her dimly lit apartment, her voice trembled. "I thought I was free, but seeing my ex with someone new broke me." He lied, saying he wasn't moving on. "I feel betrayed." She described the yacht trip as a setup, accusing Michael of flaunting Sarah to hurt her. The video ended with her wiping tears, saying, "I thought I was enough." Comments poured in, some praising her vulnerability, others bashing Michael. Lila and Ethan were furious. "She's twisting everything," Lila said, calling Michael. Ethan was blunter, "Mom's playing the victim online. It's gross." They confronted Emily, demanding she take the video down. She refused, insisting she was speaking her truth. Michael watched the video, his anger mixing with pity. Emily wasn't grieving their marriage, she was mourning the life she'd left behind. He wanted to lash out, to call her out for her lies, but Sarah stopped him. "Don't stoop to her level," she said, squeezing his hand. "You're better than that." Instead, Lila took action. She called Emily, her voice firm. "Take it down, Mom, or we're done. You can't trash Dad like this." Ethan backed her up, texting Emily a similar ultimatum. Faced with losing her kids, Emily relented. She posted a brief follow-up video, saying, "I was emotional. I'm sorry for any hurt caused." The apology felt hollow, but it was enough to calm the storm for now. Michael, meanwhile, focused on Sarah, who planned a quiet dinner with Lila and Ethan to strengthen their bond. As they laughed over pasta, Michael felt a weight lift. Emily's chaos couldn't touch this new happiness. But Emily's words lingered, a shadow over his peace. Late one night, she texted him, "I miss us. Can we talk?" Michael stared at the message, his thumb hovering over the reply button. Sarah slept beside him, her steady breathing a reminder of what he'd gained. He deleted the text, choosing silence. Emily had made her choice, and now he was making his. Michael's decision to ignore Emily's text marked a turning point. The Chicago skyline glittered outside his window, but his focus was on Sarah, Lila, and Ethan, his new foundation. Sarah's warmth and the kids' support gave him strength to let go of the past. He blocked Emily on social media, determined to protect his peace. Life with Sarah blossomed. They planned weekends exploring the city, her laughter filling the voids Emily left. Lila and Ethan embraced her, their family dinners now filled with genuine joy. Michael felt whole again, but Emily's shadow loomed. A week after the yacht trip, Emily posted another TikTok video, her voice raw. "I messed up," she said, sitting on her apartment floor, boxes still unpacked. "I thought freedom would make me happy, but I lost my family. I see my ex moving on, and it hurts, but it's my fault." She admitted her choices, leaving Michael, chasing a new life, came from a place of restlessness, not truth. "I'm trying to fix myself," she said, tears falling. Comments were mixed. Some offered sympathy. Others called her out for playing the victim. Michael didn't watch it, but Lila sent him the link, saying, "Mom's struggling, but it's on her." The kids were torn but firm. Ethan called Emily, his tone sharp. "You chose this, Mom. Dad's happy now. Don't drag him back." Lila was softer but clear. "We love you, but you hurt us. Fix yourself before you try to fix this." Emily's calls to them grew less frequent, her apologies unanswered. Michael felt a pang of sadness for her, but Sarah's steady presence kept him grounded. "She's facing her consequences," Sarah said one night, her hand on his. "You don't have to carry her pain." Months passed, and Michael proposed to Sarah during a quiet lakeside walk. She said yes, her eyes shining, and Lila and Ethan cheered when they heard. The wedding was small, just close family and friends, with the kids toasting to their new beginning. Michael felt a lightness he hadn't known in years. Emily wasn't invited, but Lila mentioned she'd heard Emily was seeing a therapist, trying to rebuild. Michael nodded, hoping she'd find peace, but his heart was with Sarah now. Emily's final TikTok video came unexpectedly. "I'm starting over," she said, standing in a park, her voice steady. "I hurt the people I love most, chasing something I thought I needed. I'm learning to be better, not for them, but for me." She mentioned volunteering at a community center, finding purpose in helping others. "To my family, I'm sorry. I hope one day you'll forgive me." The video ended with her walking away, the camera lingering on falling leaves. Comments praised her growth, but Michael didn't see it. He'd unsubscribed from her updates, choosing to focus on his new life. Lila and Ethan kept minimal contact with Emily, setting boundaries to protect themselves. "She's trying, Dad," Lila said one day, "but it'll take time." Michael nodded, understanding their need for distance. He'd learned to let go of anger, replacing it with gratitude for Sarah and the kids. Emily's choices had broken their family, but they'd rebuilt stronger without her. One evening, as Michael and Sarah cooked dinner, Ethan called. "Mom sent me a letter," he said, his voice heavy. "She wants to meet to make amends." "What do I do?" Michael paused, the weight of the past flickering. "Do what feels right for you," he said. "She's your mom, but you don't owe her anything." Ethan sighed, thanking him. Michael hung up, turning to Sarah. "Think they'll be okay?" she asked. He smiled, pulling her close. "They're tough, like their dad." The story closed with Michael reflecting on the journey. Emily's betrayal had shattered him, but it led to a life he hadn't imagined, one filled with love and purpose. Her actions had consequences, a fractured bond with her kids, a life of self-reflection. Michael chose not to seek revenge, letting her face the fallout of her choices. As he sat with Sarah watching the sunset, he felt free. The boat had sailed, and he was exactly where he belonged.